listening to Chasing Prophecy Radio, where we discuss anything and everything beyond the scope of normal. On UPRN Talk Radio FM 107.7 in New Orleans and FM 105.3 in Mississippi.
If it's unexplainable, we're talking about it.
Whether you're a believer or a skeptic,
We cover everything where the unknown becomes the known.
and now, here's your host, Jenny Nicasio.
Good evening, New Orleans. Welcome to Chasing Prophecy on FM 107.7 in New Orleans and 105.3 in Henderson Point, Mississippi. Tonight, I want to thank you all for joining us. Everyone's streaming around the world. I'm Jenny Nicasio. Welcome you to Chasing Prophecy Radio. And I encourage everyone to share the link in the chat to get involved. If you have any questions or comments, please post them for me. Your interaction makes it possible. I'm generally thrilled to have each and one of you this evening, and your presence makes it possible for us to spread across the universe and beyond. So keep the comments coming. So I want to let you know that we are sponsored by the United Public Radio in New Orleans, and it helps bring fascinating people to you. So tonight we're going to turn the gaze towards the universe, and we're going to go back in time a little bit to a rural town in Pennsylvania. The date was December 9th, 1965. The date etched in the realms of UFO lore. The place, Kecksburg, Pennsylvania. So picture this: a quiet afternoon, the tranquility in a small town suddenly shattered by a very first object that comes down and crash lands. Anyways, we're going to go back in time a little bit, but I have to bring Stan Gordon into the scene, so I'm trying to find him, so you're going to bear with me, okay, folks? I got to pull him up on the phone. Unfortunately, we had a little bit of technical problems. I was going to do some TikTok tonight live, but unfortunately, my camera died on me. So I'm going to go ahead and pull him up on the phone. Hey, everybody. So let's pull him up so we don't screw this up. So I have to put him on speakerphone. So I'm going to bring him on. So just give me a second. I'm going to turn that down a little bit. But we're going to pull him up on the phone. Pull him up on speakerphone. So I want to make sure you can hear him. So I'm going to pull him up. Hey, everyone in the chat. I'm a little off-center today because I had two cameras going, so so bear with me. And I don't have my hat on, so that makes a difference too, you know what I'm saying? So hopefully Santa, it picks up. I hope you didn't forget, because that wouldn't be too good.
Your call has been
figures.
To an automatic
Oh my God.
message system.
Let me email him. I wish we was a little bit more better with technology, but he's not. I'm gonna try to get him again. I am calling you. I am calling you, Stan. Please pick up. And they're gonna. Okay. So hopefully I'll call him again. Let's see here. Stan. Stan, baby, pick up. I hope you didn't put the phone down. I hope you didn't put the wrong phone number. That wouldn't be too cool. And I need a drink. So there's some crazy news out there. Did anybody watch the Tucker Carlson YouTube? He was talking about how these UFO people might be like after our souls. I don't know what's going on with Stan. Ooh, he's messing me up tonight. You know, it gets me kind of perturbed when guests say they're going to be on the show and then they don't answer their phone. It's kind of agitating to me. I don't mean to be a biatch, but Stan. Okay, there. I was worried. Okay, let me put you on speakerphone. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put you. Can you guys in the chat here, Stan? Go ahead, speak to me, Stan.
I can hear you real well.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Okay. Oh, I was worried there. Unless the alien's gone on. I don't know. So, Stan, I got your email, and that's what brought me into contacting you about. You went back a little bit talking about Kecksburg, and has anything changed on that? That's where we're going to start. We're going to start there. Has anything changed? We.
But I ran to a few people over the last few years who are involved, but it's just basically just verifying whether people told me. But it's very fascinating. It's 58 years this year.
Oh, wow. 58. That's a long time.
Yeah.
And let me see. I hope we're still online. Okay. Okay, so it's 58 years. Nothing really's changed. Can everybody hear me in the chat? Because I want to make sure. I'll keep getting like little pings. Can everybody hear me? Can you? Hi, Cindy, Sebastian. Could you guys hear Stan? Okay. Okay. Oh, you're just hearing music. Okay, let's turn the music down because we're having a little technical difficulty here. Okay, let's get that music down.
No, I'm only hearing you, Danny. I'm not hearing anybody.
Yeah, I know. You're not gonna. It's just you and me. Okay. Can everybody hear him? Okay now. Can you hear Stan? There's some music playing, which makes it okay. Cindy, sounds good. Okay, the music's gone. Okay, Stan, here we go. So nothing has changed. Nothing has changed, and we're still, there's a lot of people that still think it's a satellite, and we got a little bit of people thinking that, skeptics and such. So your thoughts are still the same.
We've talked to the people who were involved in 16 years old when the incident happened back December 1965. For documenting it, this was breaking on the news. And over the years, there have been numerous theories about what this object was. And again, as I mentioned, in the recent report on the 58th anniversary, that was December 9th of this year, that I keep an open mind to all possibilities. I said years and years ago, could this have been some very secretive, very advanced man-made space probe? Or could it be something that was much more unusual, something that was not man-made? And again, a question is still open because there's different information from different people. And, what this object was, and it came in over the greater Pittsburgh area about 4:47 p.m. that afternoon. What we didn't know at the time, and over many, many years from independent witnesses, we were able to put a lot of this data together. This object came in from Pittsburgh, moved over to the city of Greensburg, moved out basically to Route 30 east, but made a turn to the south, and was seen by numerous people along that path from, let's say, Marguerite and Norvelt, Mammoth. Then it went outside of Kecksburg and started moving out toward the mountains of Laurelville. And then, according to witnesses, it kind of hesitated and began to track back again outside of Kecksburg. It made another turn and dropped down into the woods. Well, what we didn't know at the time was the fact that some of the local residents who saw it coming down very low and saw it go down into the woods, right after it happened, they went down into the woods to see what had fallen from the sky. And that's when they came across that large metallic acorn-shaped object semi-buried in the ground. So this thing was large enough for a human to stand inside. It was maybe approximately 10 to 12 feet in length by 8 to 10 feet in diameter, kind of an off gold bronze color, like one solid piece of metal, shaped like an acorn, but on the raised up back of the object were what witnesses said looked to be some type of unusual markings or symbols. Luckily, one of the witnesses, who was a volunteer fireman who was not from Kecksburg, who came out with other volunteer fire departments to search for possible downed aircraft in the area, as many reports were coming in from the public. And that's when they came across this object. It had no weld marks, no sieves, no rivet marks on it. And the one witness who was close to it, who has been a machinist all his life as time went on,
Mm-hmm.
He said it looked like some sort of liquid metal and poured into an acorn-shaped hole. And interestingly, there were no reports of any parachutes coming down with the object or on the ground or in the vicinity when this occurred. So it's a very fascinating incident, whatever it was. I mean, for the military to respond as fast as they did to come to that area apparently was something that they were very interested in obtaining and studying.
Yeah, I was listening to that whistleblower that it was in the hearings they had in Congress, and he was on Tucker Carlson, and he was saying that it was an acorn. There was some that they found that were acorn shaped. That's what made me decide, well, maybe like the people like John Ventry who said that it's probably just a satellite. It gives it a little bit more credibility. Don't you agree?
Well, while it's rare, yes, there have been other alleged acorn-shaped UFOs reported not only in the United States and other countries as well for years and years. It's not that well known. You don't hear about talk about that often, but we do have those kind of reports.
Mm-hmm.
But again, this thing was very intriguing for 1965 for the technology at that time, and so much of the Soviet space vehicles, the U.S. space vehicles at that time, have been declassified as public knowledge now.
Yeah.
And we have yet to see any documents that I'm aware of anything that may have been launched at that time that correlates with the Kecksburg incident. And I talked to a lot of people over the years who worked in the space program during that time period, and when they looked at the information, they all kind of scratched their heads, and they were kind of baffled by it. So again, I keep an open mind to all possibilities, and again, whatever it was, it's an interesting account. Something was found there. There's no doubt about it that many people were involved with. There were many reporters on the scene that night. I tracked down many witnesses, including volunteer firemen and state troopers and reporters who were on the scene. And there's no doubt that the military was there, and they got there very, very quickly.
Yeah. So with the rapid arrival of the military at the site, what do you think that was going on based on your research? Can you tell us a little bit about the extent of the nature of the military's involvement in the recovery operation?
Well, over the years, different local people told me they were just amazed at the fact that they began to see at least a small military presence around the general area within the hour after it fell. So just a short time after it came down. And then it was over the next few hours that different people started reporting seeing a large number of military, like a military convoy coming in, people said, came into the area. Some came from more than one direction. And if you think about it, it's 1965, during the Vietnam War. This area, there was armories or military facilities all over Pennsylvania, all over Ohio, and neighboring states. So, again, it wouldn't have taken a heck of a long time, but for them to respond as quickly as they did with the personnel and the type of equipment, I would think it's very likely that there was already in place a quick response recovery program for objects that fell from the sky, and that's pretty well, I think, understood there was something like that going on during that time. And whatever it was, again, I think it was something of interest to the government. They wanted to get there very quickly to study it.
Yeah. So, you talked about the symbols. What makes you think that they weren't Soviet?
Well, for one thing, one of the witnesses who was close by, because of his family background, he was familiar with Cyrillic. So he was familiar. He said he was quite certain that what he saw was not anything like that, was not of Soviet origin. It was something much more unusual. In fact, over the years after it happened, he used to go to various libraries to look at ancient writings. And he said the closest that he could recall just from memory was it looked something similar to ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics.
Okay. You see some of those, those movies, Hollywood has those, there's symbols and all kind of stuff too, that they kind of think it comes from like a Sumerian or some kind of ancient alien. I don't know. So getting before we move on, because I know you want to talk about other stuff. Can you provide more detail of how they transported the craft out of Kecksburg?
Yeah, well, one thing we do know for sure, because we have independent witnesses over the years who was able to confirm this to me, and over many years, there were certain details that I didn't publicly talk about, so I had enough independent confirmation. And one of those details was the fact that one, many people saw a military flatbed tractor trailer truck carry the object out of there that was tarp. They had a tarp cover over it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I also have been aware of, and again, it was many years ago I was able to confirm this, there was not one, there were two military flatbed tractor trailers on the scene that night, which is very intriguing. So I found out that the one left the area earlier in the evening and went to the Air Force Base in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever was on there supposedly was transported from there and flown to somewhere out in the western part of the country. The one with the object went out somewhere around 1 o'clock in the morning. And we know it went to Lockport Air Force Base near Columbus, Ohio. The truck and the object were backed into a hangar. They set up a military security perimeter around the hangar. And I was told that they were given a shoot to kill order to anybody who approached the hangar without the proper clearance. It only stayed there a short time, then went on to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And later I learned exactly where it was taken to. It was not the infamous hangar 18 people here talk about. It was another facility on the base. And I believe that's where it was taken to. Where it's at today, we do not know. We hear different rumors that it's still there. We hear other rumors it's been moved.
Okay. So you, throughout your investigation, you filed numerous reports with the FOIA. Can you give me a little bit more detail on that? Like, what were some of the most significant pieces of information?
Years, myself and others, we filed with the Air Force, the Army, the Coast Guard, the FAA. It just went on different state agencies and whatever. And the only official report on Kecksburg showed up when another researcher's name was Ray Boucher.
Mm-hmm.
He was very involved in some of this too back in those days, and he was able to get the Air Force Project Blue Book report. So back in those days, you got to remember, the Air Force had that program, Project Blue Book, that was actively investigating UFO reports. But one of the reasons it was hard to find it was not listed under Kecksburg. It was listed under Acme, Pennsylvania. And I believe the reason was because I had found that and I interviewed members of a family
Mm-hmm.
who were involved in the incident that evening in December, that afternoon, December 1965. They were interviewed by an Air Force officer at the time. But they lived close to where the object fell, within walking distance, but they had an Acme mailing address. And I believe that's why they used Acme rather than Kecksburg, Pennsylvania.
Oh. So what do you think the military went back to the site? What were they looking for, do you think?
Well, again, what's very intriguing. So the next step, this is lots of local, national news.
Yeah.
The country. And at that point already, the authorities, the government was saying that there was a thorough search of the woods during early morning hours. They found absolutely nothing. And it was just apparently a bright meteor in the sky.
Oh.
What's interesting, another tidbit that I've had for years, again, from independent sources, but I didn't have enough to go public until quite a while later, was the fact that also early the next morning, a smaller group of personnel went back down into those woods. And apparently they were searching for something. Witnesses out there that night it happened, and also the next day talked about seeing men in white coveralls, some called them moon suits, which would be a hazmat outfit, were down in the woods. And there were two young brothers who used to play in the woods every day. And they saw the activity the night before. They saw the lights. They saw some of the military vehicles. And early the next morning, they went down into the woods to see what was going on. First of all, they had some animals at the time, some farm animals. The military apparently had cut their fence to take some of the trucks down. And they had to mend the fence early because of the animals. Then they went down into the woods and came across a man with some type of equipment. They weren't sure if it was a metal detector or a Geiger counter, but the man told the two boys, you better get out of the woods because there's a chance of radiation. But the boys didn't know what radiation meant, so they went home and asked their parents.
Oh, wow.
An example of some of the little tidbits we heard over the years.
Mm-hmm. So has there any other, like research going on with this, or?
I'm still interested in 50 years now, and we're hoping now with what's been going on with the government with the legislation.
Mm-hmm.
There's hopefully that maybe at some point, maybe some records might be opened up. We don't know in Kecksburg. It's been a long time. There have been, investigations and searches for documents on this for years and years. But there may well be something out there. Maybe with some luck, something will surface still. There's witnesses out there who are still hopeful. Many of them have passed away. Many of them are, up there in age or health is not good. And many others are still around. I mean, even the last year or so, I was really surprised at some of the events I was speaking at, that some of these fellows came up, actually men or women, and they were probably 70s and 80s, and they all independently would come up and tell me that they would never forget that night that this happened. They were with their parents, and they went out in the area, and they couldn't get near it because the roads were blocked off. They saw the soldiers, the state police, but they knew what they saw. And quite a lot of people saw that military flatbed tractor trailer in the area.
Yeah. So you refer to like the whistleblower, David Crush. What do his testimony about the government program for UFO recovery? How do you think that the testimony relates to Kecksburg incidents? Does it?
I think that it's very likely, once again, that there was already an ongoing project to investigate these type of reports. So the government was interested in anything that fell from the sky to study. And those objects, when they were recovered, they would end up going to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base near Dayton, Ohio. Well, Wright-Patterson was important because, one, it was the headquarters for Project Blue Book, the UFO headquarters at the time, the UFO program, and two, was also the home of the Foreign Technology Division, FTD. So that was basically the government labs that would examine whatever fell from the sky. So, for example, we recovered a Soviet satellite, they'd like to recover it and study it. But if anything else unusual turned up, reportedly it went there, such as the material from Roswell, the Kecksburg object went there. We hear that other unusual items may have been taken to Wright-Patterson over the years.
Yeah. What?
It was the right place to go. Something was going to happen.
What about the photographs that were taken? Do you know if they'll ever turn up?
Well, we don't know. I'm looking for years and years. Now, over the years, I've talked to different people who swear remember seeing black and white photos at that time. Some supposedly out in the woods. Others, got pictures of the officers on truck. I talked to one fellow. I interviewed him several times. He's been in recent years. I believe this fella, I've been telling the truth. He was there that night with a small group of other people from out of the area, and he said, I took pictures of the thing myself. But he said around that time, I led it to some friends, and they started showing to other people, and ended up getting lost. So hopefully, there's pictures out there. I've heard from other families for years and years that people have the pictures around here. So I'm hoping that somebody may turn those pictures up. They might be, who knows, lying around somebody's family scrapbook somewhere.
Yeah, that would be great if that was the case. Okay, let's get what's going on now. I know that you said there's a lot of strange things happening in Pennsylvania. Can you elaborate on those at all?
It's been extremely busy. I mean, the last few years, since I would say around the fall and the winter, I believe it was 2021. Generally, this time of year, you have winter, you have snow, you have cold weather. Reports generally start to slow down. I receive reports every year by hotlines set up since 1969. The phones never stop ringing. I get many email reports coming in all the time. And while I deal mainly in Pennsylvania, I do get reports from other parts of the country as well. But I deal mainly in Pennsylvania because it's always so active.
Yeah.
In the fall and winter of 2021, we began to receive a number of very interesting low-level UFO sightings. And that was just really intriguing in itself. And that went on, and that just continued into 2022, and then all through last year. And again, a lot of these reports have been daylight sighting reports. So we're receiving a lot of reports of these elliptical kind of cigar-shaped objects being reported, and the military calls them Tic Tacs. I mean, we've known about it for years and years. Interestingly, we did get some pretty good photographs of different areas in daylight from different people, and they're all somewhat similar. I'm sure a lot of the reports from the greater Pittsburgh area, beautiful afternoons of these large, solid-looking objects just hovering in the sky, and then just instantaneously just vanishing. So accelerated observes an object that looks like it's barely moving, just hovering quite low above the ground. 3 lights in a rounded triangular configuration described as similar to a guitar-picking shape. The lights look perfectly circular or non-blinking orange-yellow in color for about the size of a large dinner plate diameter. As she got closer, the object was completely silent, was to her left, just a short distance off the road. She passed below a section of the object that was about 30 feet above the ground. She observed the outline of the triangular shape and noticed the color lights were now a pinkish yellow color. So they're not like navigational lighting. And she said the object was not that big, but they were 10 feet long, 6 feet wide. She did not have a radio on the time. She was on the cell phone and she was using a Bluetooth connection. Noticed that there was some static during the conversation. That the phone, also she had her dog in the car. And she noticed that the animal was turning its head while looking at the object, and I was trying to figure out what it was. And the woman was touching the dog to try to comfort it, and she felt like a slight static electricity shock, like a jolt. And the woman came frightened, and she said, I sped the heck out of there very quickly, and she told me she panicked and didn't even think about taking a picture, which is very common in a lot of these type reports. And it was still hovering there. She will move down the road. But that's the kind of things were going on. A lot of these reports, even in recent weeks and months.
Yeah.
Hey, one interesting report on my website now. This was November 16th of this year. This is in daylight again. Daylight coming in.
Mm-hmm.
One of my research associates, Jim Brown's a very high lives luckily in that area. So he's investigating a lot of reports. So this was November 16th, 2 in the afternoon. And the weather was mostly clear, temperature from 60 degrees. It was near Point Marion, PA. And again, Fayette County, extremely active area, especially in areas along the Chestnut Ridge, which we've talked about before.
Yeah.
Active areas in the country for yearly active UFO, Bigfoot, cryptid activity. So you have this neighbor, and she was just getting ready to walk outside. This was such a nice day. And she noticed above her neighbor's home, about 50 feet over the roof of her neighbor's home, this odd-looking object. So her first thought was, well, maybe they're working on the house. Maybe there's a part that's blown loose, or maybe it's some kind of a pipe. But as she watched it, she realized this thing was very unusual. She said it looked like a solid black triangle, so there's no lights on it. But as she's watching this thing, it's physically changing shape from a triangle to a square. And there was difficult to judge the size, because it was constantly changing in motion.
Mm-hmm.
She said it was about 20, 30 feet away from any point across the object during either configuration, looked to be about 4 feet thick. There were no light, no sound, and no surface features. So she was so intrigued by it, she went into the house to call the neighbor where it was hovering over the house, but she was not there and left a message. And she decided to walk outside and go closer to the house to get a better look at this thing. And that's when she found that neighbor who owned the house was outside.
Wow.
The door. She had no idea about this thing being over top of her house until the neighbor pointed it out. So she was also interviewed, and she explained to Jim that this black object was changing shape, and she said it appeared as a square and was drawing itself into a triangular form. One corner of the square would pull itself into the body, and at the same time, another area along the edge would extend out to become another point. This activity continued as it was gaining altitude, and it got up to around 500 feet, a little higher in the sky when they were seeing it, and it began to rise higher and higher for about 2 to 3 minutes until it became a dark spot in the sky, was lost from sight. And both women were, well, the lady was outside working, she didn't have her phone. The other woman was so shaken, she didn't even think about taking a picture of it. And that's very, very common with many close-range, low-level UFO sightings and Bigfoot sightings and encounters with cryptids, and which, again, this year has been extremely active with all kinds of strange reports come in. There have been numerous Bigfoot sightings in this area. Again, a lot of these have been in daylight.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people talking on TikTok, and they were talking about in the Appalachian too, that they're actually hearing these strange sounds and actually hearing what's like someone calling their name. So I don't know if this is some kind of a cryptic or some kind of like you were talking about interdimensional. So what do you think that's what is it, could it be the same thing? These voices?
It's so complex. It is so bizarre. Years and years ago, my latest book, Cryptic, the phenomenon is so strange it protects itself. I first noticed this back in the 70s. You hear about skinwalker.
Yeah.
I was dealing with skinwalker activity years before you heard about what you thought. And if you may remember, if you were here in 1973, here in Pennsylvania, we had the biggest UFO outbreak ever documented. Hundreds and hundreds of UFO reports coming in across the state all year long, including many in the greater Pittsburgh area. And many of these were not lights in the sky. These are large, low-level objects hovering over vehicles, hovering on turnpike incidents, hovering over roadways. There were landing reports going on. I mean, it was just incredible what was happening. And back then, in 1973, you don't have the cell phone service, you don't have the internet like you do today. So a lot of people call the police department the news media. Luckily, in 1970, I found the first of 3 volunteer research groups to investigate the reports. And by 1973, I had set up on a case across the state of Pennsylvania. But in the group, most people were specialists. We had scientists, engineers, and technicians, and police officers, former military specialists. We all did this around our full-time jobs, and we all did this voluntarily. And as this went, all this stuff was going on. So we have hundreds of UFO reports coming in all year long. And in the summer of 73 is when we had that biggest UFO outbreak ever documented, Bigfoot outbreak documented.
Yeah.
With reports coming in to early 1974. And a lot of those were daylight reports. In some cases, you had more than one creature seen together. In many instances back then, we had some type of physical evidence at the scene. So in cases, my teams would be on the scene within minutes to hours after they occurred. And we were surprised. We were getting reports from law enforcement, from the news media. So we were just jammed with all these cases coming in. And that's when we began to see some very strange physical evidence at the scene, and also reports coming in from the public from widespread areas of some weird things that began to realize that Bigfoot was much stranger than unknown.
Yeah. Hey, Stan, let's just we want to pause just a little quick. I gotta, we have a sponsor. I want to thank our sponsor, United Public Radio, and everybody out there in chat, whether you're listening on multiple different platforms, StreamYards, YouTube, Facebook. I want to thank you all for being in the chat. If you have a question for Stan Gordon, please post it. It's kind of hard. I'm looking at all these different chats. So I just want to say hello to Cindy, Anthony, Gary, Sebastian, and all you other people on different, we're everywhere right now. So I just want to say thank you for United Public Radio. And I want to thank you guys for being here. And if you're in the chats, please hit the screen, share it. Give me some hearts, give me some love. Okay. We're in New Orleans on 107.7 FM and 105.3 in Henderson Point, Mississippi. So we have Stan Gordon here. He's a researcher from Pennsylvania. We're talking about all kind of crazy stuff in Pennsylvania. So if you have a question, please give us a shout. Yeah, there's so many, we're in such a crazy stage. It's a great time to be alive. And I just want to say, I was listening to Tucker Carlson. He was talking to another UFO person, and he was saying that these anonymies, these ETs or whatever you want to call it, be it Bigfoot, be it some kind of extraterrestrial, that they're here it's a dark side. They're not here to take over the planet. They're here to take over our souls. And I don't know if you ever heard anything like that.
Well, stories of the more I know about this, and I've been doing this for a long, long time. It's over 64 years I've been doing this now. I've never personally seen a Bigfoot UFO. I've seen UFO witnesses, and hundreds of Bigfoot witnesses. I see these cases on a regular basis all the time coming in. Just even in recent weeks in this area are very, very strange, extremely strange. more data that these things, whatever we're dealing with, have a physical and a non-physical component to it.
Mm-hmm.
So just to give you an idea, we can talk for hours about this. And so going back to 73, one of the first things that caught our attention, but all these sightings going on, and you've got to remember, it's always around, including the wintertime. So we have these large footprints with big strides between them. They go a distance and suddenly abruptly stop and end when there should have been more tracks.
Yeah.
Even one witness remembered one thing in 73 when the state police are out there, and he saw this thing was literally on his patio at his mobile home outside of Lake Trove, 4 o'clock in the morning, and it was on the opposite side of the window. It was at least 9 foot tall, and this guy was a complete non-believer to what happened. It was back towards him, and so he was like a foot away on the opposite side of the window, and they had 6 troopers there within a short time. He had cut his grass the night before, and there was these tracks going across his yard, going across the part of the town, across the road. And at one point, some of those tracks suddenly ended. And he said to me, "Can these things fly?" Of course, we don't believe that's the case, but they just vanished. They were gone. There should have been more tracks. This is going on now all over the country. We're getting these type of reports. We're dealing with something as a physical and a non-physical component to it. And then we have that amazing case of February 6, 1974, way up in the mountains of here, western Pennsylvania, where a woman lived in her mobile home. She lived in a cabin, and she heard these noise on her patio. She lived up on in this cabin. She heard this noise on her little front porch, I should say. Somebody was moving the pump cans, or she empty soda cans out there. There was a pack of wild dogs that come before. She loads her double-barrel 16-gauge double-barrel shotgun, loads one chamber, gonna shoot over their head to scare the dogs away, goes over to the front porch, turns on the switch to turn on the porch light, steps outside, and 6 feet in front of her is this huge 7-foot-tall, hair-covered creature that as soon as she turned the light on and put his arms up over his head, what does she do? She pulls the trigger.
Oh.
There's this bright flash of light, and this huge object everywhere just vanished in front of her. That's the short part of the story.
Wow. That's something else. I wanted to talk about so when we talk about the interdimensional that you're talking about, do you think they're just, is there like a portal they're coming through? Are they coming through like a time thing, like a time, is it like a time, like they time traveling? What do you think they're doing? How are they getting here? Is it something to do with and somebody said something too, like what about the daylight sightings, the daylight sightings? These are different than the nighttime sightings. Is there any credibility or evidence to back this up? What do you?
Well, they're a lot more detailed because, again, a lot of the Bigfoot stuff, a lot of the shows you see on TV and you hear these reports, and these things are quite distance away in the dark, and you're not really getting a look at them. And a lot of the reports we're getting here in Pennsylvania, and even this year and in recent months, these things are 40, 50 feet away, sometimes less. They're seeing these things from head to toe. I mean, I've interviewed over the years, just like with UFOs, I've interviewed outdoorsmen and hunters and police officers and very credible people, many who had never believed that these things could exist because they had their own personal experience. I've interviewed many hunters who their lives were changed. They used to laugh at people talking, saw what they saw.
Yeah.
And these things are just going on more and more, that's for sure. So that's what's going on. And got a lot of the UFO sites. What's intriguing is that you have these reports of these solid objects in the sky that are just hovering there and just vanish, or in some cases, they slowly fade away and disappear.
Okay, are they shape shifting into some other kind of vehicle? I know there were some reports in Murraysville, Pennsylvania, by an Ellison Cruz, and she said that they shape shift like from a light to like all of a sudden it was like a helicopter, and then they would go back, like they could change different forms, like to hide themselves. Is there any evidence to that?
I don't know about those particular cases. I can tell you that's what non-physical component to it. One of the pattern I found many years ago is that close range, low-level UFO sightings and many encounters with Bigfoot and other creatures, other cryptids, occur commonly in the vicinity of high-energy sources. So you have many, many sightings around high-tension power lines, power plants, radio and cell phone towers, gas wells, gas lines, bodies of water, railroad tracks. There's definitely energy connection to it. We can only theorize. We have no idea what we're dealing with right now. I don't think anybody does. I think they're very much aware of it, but they're in a position where they don't have the answers either. It's a worldwide phenomenon. They're not in control of it. They know about the incidents going on at Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah.
Scientists connected with the CIA on television. You heard about it. And whatever we're dealing with, I'm telling you more and more, there's some in various type of anomalies, such as the UFO stuff and some cases, the Bigfoot connection. That one case I think we talked about in the past interviews we did with that famous incident. It's very long, just very briefly. It was October 25th, 1973, during that massive weather. And I came from a state trooper from Utah Americans. He just came back from investigating that involved 15 eyewitnesses observed a barn-sized red sphere hovering about 100 feet off the ground and slowly moving downward.
Wow.
And the son of the person that owned the farm was coming down the farm road to visit his family. When he sees that object in the sky, people are watching it. He sees it. He goes to a neighbor's house and gets a better view. And he and two young boys look at this thing. It looks like it's going to land on his dad's house. Go see what this thing is. So he stopped over to the state farm before the winter. He grabbed a 30-06 and a handful of ammunition. He didn't realize it at the time, but in that ammunition, he had 2 tracer bullets. So those that are aware of the hunters out there, when you fire their tracer bullet, you just get that luminous trim. To make the story short, they found the way to the hill up the pasture, about 250 feet away. This huge object was on the ground, right above it. And now it was not a complete sphere. It was like a big white dome about 100 feet in diameter, illuminating the area. And as they're watching this thing, a short time later, their eyes are attracted to a barbed wire fence about 75 feet away. And along that barbed wire fence, these 2 huge Bigfoot-type creatures walking slowly in their direction. One's about 8 foot tall, one's 7 foot tall, covered with kind of brownish gray hair. The arms are so long they hang below the knees almost to the ground. They have no neck. Their eyes are large, about 50 centimeters, glowing a luminous green. They're making these baby crying sounds.
Oh, wow.
So Frankie ran out of the field. The other kid starts yelling, shoot him.
Jeez.
He fired himself. The first one, but when he fired, loud baby crying sound, reaches out his head, grabbing the tracer, and that huge luminous object vanishes. It doesn't take off, it just disappears, and the crew just turn around and start walking back in the woods as the guys fire loud ammo into it with a 30-06 with no effect on the creatures whatsoever. The short part of the story is when the state trooper arrives to investigate that 45 minutes later, they go up to the scene. The trooper told me the area where the object was on the ground was self-luminescent glowing, about 100 feet or more in diameter. And he said he had a newspaper. He was pretty sure he could read the newspaper from the light coming off the glow. That's the short part of the story. That's when we began to realize that there was some interconnection. Now it's going on more and more over the years on different parts of the country and around the world. And it's much more complicated, and nobody understands what's happening.
Wow. There's
That isn't extraterrestrial, by the way.
no.
More we know about these things. Years ago, there's more than one origin to the unknown category of the UFO phenomenon, or UAP as the government calls them now. I think a small number might possibly be extraterrestrial, but I'm telling you, what we're dealing with is much stranger. It's much more unusual.
Okay, Stan. So you okay, Stan. So what do you think they are? Some kind of like spiritual thing, like a, or are they from the military?
And you talk, people have told me a bunch of rich in different areas. They've seen a believe it's like a doorway or opening, and under certain conditions, these things come into our reality. They're here for a short time and they're gone. That's what these strange creature reports, from Bigfoot sightings to the Thunderbird sightings, these huge flying creatures.
So if they're not,
we have all kinds of entities who's had these, and you can report from Avery just happened recently down there. This very tall, airless, skinny, sickly-looking humanoid creature that I was receiving reports on back in 2017 from different areas around the Pittsburgh area and other areas.
yeah, but
These reports are coming up from all over the country.
well, just
The point is, you cannot have somebody have unknown creatures.
okay, but getting
You've got
Stan.
who don't want to do this thing, who couldn't believe it until they saw it. You can't just eliminate the reports. All we was something we don't understand right now. And there's certain conditions, these things come into our environment.
Yeah.
See them, they're here and they're gone, they come and they go.
They're coming, but I want to, okay, if they're not ETs, okay, they're not military, then what else? Is it something from like, is it a spiritual, an angel, a demon? What do you think? Your opinion. I know, but what's your opinion, Stan? Okay, another reality. So this is totally like something out of the Matrix.
And again, the similarities. Let me tell you something. From what I've learned is this: you can be at the right place in the right time, have the UFO sighting, a Bigfoot sighting, encounter, and there have been many, many alternate greatness for years, and a lot in the last few years. So many people have seen these things. But also, when this phenomenon is, there are certain locations that this phenomenon seems to focus on, just like Skinwalker Ranch. So we have some of these areas in Pennsylvania. There's one they uncovered about a year, maybe a little more than a year ago now. Another one in Fayette County that's very active. I've been up there. It's very hard to access. It is very strange. The Pennsylvania Society was up there investigating Bigfoot activity when they came across this area, and this area has all kinds of weird sounds, small spheres of light, balls of light below the ground that come up within feet of the researchers and witnesses. All kind of phenomena going on there, very similar to Skinwalker Ranch again. And so you have these places now all over the country and in Pennsylvania where there's a long history of, again, Bigfoot sightings, cryptids, weird sounds, electromagnetic effects, all kinds of strange oddities with cameras, electronic equipment. So these are the kind of things that are going on.
Yeah, but it's just get me back to where if it sounds really dark. It doesn't sound like if it's not the military, it's freaking me out right now, because if it's not the military and it's some kind of a being that can go from one reality to the next, it sounds like it's more like demonic. It doesn't sound like it's, I don't know, Stan. This is really freaking me out. That's all.
Well, this for a long time, and it's so interesting. And everybody has their own perception, their own thoughts and ideas of what we're doing. We don't know what it is. Apparently there's intelligence behind whatever it is. I think what's really intriguing about again, you can go to my website and again, you're hearing more about this now on TV. In the last few years, you're hearing more about this. I was aware of this in the 1960s. People refer to them as orbs of light, balls of light. I called them mini UFOs for years. I knew about them in the Pittsburgh area back in 1960. So these smaller objects, they range anywhere. The smallest about the size of an oversized fireball. They're generally spherical spheres of light of different colors. Some are more solid looking. In fact, some people said they look more metallic. Most of them are more of a light source. What's intriguing is over the years, I've been fortunate following vehicles. I've been enter people's homes and cars who have been witnesses. I've had them go right through the walls of homes. In the last year, we had the biggest surge of these reports ever documented here in Pennsylvania. Some of these cases were just incredible.
Yeah.
Just amazing. We've had reports of recent weeks of these things. And this is what you're really, really intriguing. And when you talk to some of right? Pennsylvania, around the country. Some of these reports are very, very strange.
Yeah.
People are saying that these balls of light have actually changed into some other type of life form.
Well, you know what? A couple of people.
Transformation of what you were talking about.
Yeah, a couple people in the chat. There's a Jesse in the one chat said that it sounds like it could be even a ghost, like a spirit that can change into these.
There's some similarity with some of the things that the paranormal researchers the things we're dealing with here.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things is this is something more and more is, people say, you have more pictures of UFOs than Bigfoot. Well, there's various reasons. One, a lot of the time incidents are short-lived. And sometimes it's a matter of seconds that people don't have time to even grab the camera. And the witnesses are so shocked by what they're seeing. They're so in awe of these things.
Yeah. Well, you're saying in your research that you say there's a difference between interdimensional and extraterrestrial. What kind of evidence, or what do you mean? Like,
well, there's a lot of theoretical years. And you case brought up, and I've investigated multiple cases here in Pennsylvania in this area of large structured objects blowing up on something like that. September 1987. Specifically law enforcement. They see this huge, solid, elongated, kind of football-shaped object.
mm-hmm.
Completely solid, 300 feet long, moving across the high-tension power lines right by the side of the wall, and it goes right across Route 30. So it's going right over the vehicles, over the high-tension power lines, and when you move across Route 30 there, you have a power substation. And it's horizontal, it turns vertical in the sky. And once it has all the power in the air, including the wall.
Oh, that's something definitely going.
And what's interesting is the engineers were a lot of people probably when the engineers went to investigate, they got all three of the vents refused that circuit been blown, which apparently is something is just not a normal thing whatsoever. It's very unusual.
Yeah.
I've had reports for years and years of these things near high tension power lines, again, over power stations. Back in 1960, let me tell my memory, about 67, when they were building the Homer City Power Station, Indiana, there was a huge wave of UFO activity going on. It was in the newspaper up there for weeks and weeks. And I can tell you, now they closed that power plant down in recent months, but for years and years, been extremely busy, even the last couple of years, with UFO sightings, Bigfoot, cryptid encounters, and again, other power plants in that area. We're continuing to receive reports of phenomena around those areas.
Well, how's the reporting changed since compared to the interdimensional and the like the physical and the kind that go through like an interdimensional sighting? Isn't it gonna mess everything up if there's more interdimensional sightings than there are physical sightings? I mean, how do you even report on something like that?
It's very hard. We hear more of these kind of reports from a lot of people out there. These type of things, a lot of strange things going on. But, and again, it's not just in Pennsylvania. This is going on all over the country and other parts of the world. I've heard there's some other witnesses, many other research are getting some reports. It's not something new. It's been going on for years and years. But more people are talking a little more about it now. That's what's going on. You get these little details a lot of people are thinking about. But what I sort of mentioned to you before is why there's not a lot of pictures is that, one, there have been many people who have attempted to take pictures of these objects, and their camera would malfunction. Only charged batteries would completely discharge within seconds. Other people have attempted to take pictures with really high level night vision equipment or recorders in different parts of Pennsylvania in recent years. And as soon as they see these balls of light, in some cases, the camera malfunction, the batteries go dead. This is going on more and more. People also in the paranormal field have reported something similar for years.
Wow. This is amazing stuff. I mean, there seems like there's more reports every day, especially after the hearings. It's like, but when are they going to actually come out and say, "Oh yeah, this is what's going on. This is what's not going on," or is it? How do we know it's just not all CGI stuff? I mean, mm-hmm.
It's been going on for years and years and years. I mean, I have copies of newspapers from the 1890s.
Mm-hmm.
This guy from Pennsylvania. Of course, UFO senators, because of all the sightings in 1947, a lot of the UFO were actually concerned with with. Well, for certain time, that Project Blue Book.
Yeah.
Now, of course, you have to do the aerial office that's investigating these sightings. I do not expect any time in the near future. You're going to hear bits and pieces opening up. Now, you're hearing more and more interest in Congress, but also don't think anytime soon you're going to hear any major revelations of anything coming out because, again, I don't think anybody, including the government, understands what's going on.
I know. It's like
happening. They don't understand either. They're in control situation. It's a worldwide phenomenon. It's going on all over the world. It's not just here.
yeah, it has to be exciting. It should be exciting for you. I mean, finally, they're actually admitting that there is something out there, and hopefully, you'll get some kind of retribution to some of this stuff. Yeah. Yeah, because they think they're crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
People were saying these, and I interviewed so many different witnesses over the years, including commercial pilots, private pilots, those things, all Pennsylvania. So it's just fascinating. There's something going on out there.
There is. There's something going out there, and hopefully we'll know the truth to it someday. But Stan, it was great having you on the show. Where can people learn more about your research?
Okay, well, they get my website, which is stangordon.info, stangordon.info. They can call me on 724-838-7768. All my books are available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com. The news book is called Cryptic, Strange UFO Encounters in Pennsylvania. There's a lot of things there, feature reports and things you never heard of before. Many very detailed of the close range small reports and UFO sightings. A lot from the greater Pittsburgh area, western Pennsylvania, and they can get this from Amazon.com.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thanks again for joining us tonight. You have a good night. And have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
You too.
Oh, good night. Wow, there you guys go. Stan Gordon update. It's pretty cool. I don't know what to believe. There's so many weird stuff out there. I mean, I know I live in the Chestnut Ridge, even though this isn't the show broadcast in New Orleans, but there's a lot of people talking about weird stuff, especially hearing voices kind of freaks me out. Hopefully I'll have this live set up better. I took a leave, and I'm trying to get my studio back up and trying to get the cameras all going at the same time. Thank you, Cindy. Yeah, he's really credible. I mean, he's been doing research since 1965. I mean, guy's 80 years old. I mean, to me, he does not sound that old. I mean, he sounds like he knows he's on top. Not some other 80-year-olds that we know of, what I'm talking about. But yeah, it was a good show. I just wish I can get this set going a little bit better. But it was nice seeing you guys, and make sure you get your go to. I'm going to try InfoWars and support the broadcast Tomorrow's News Today. I should be getting some plugs for, some kind of compensation for the big guy, but whatever. He's my news. I watch him every day. I don't even have to tell you who he is. You know who he is. And all the different streams. I hope I'm going to have to get this set up better. And I won't be on Sunday. So guys, I'm taking Sunday off for Christmas. I have a Christmas party like I do every year. The Italians, 7 fishes. No, we don't have 7 fishes. We only have probably 3 fishes. We have squid and we have shrimp, and we have crab meat. And this year we're going to have lobster tails because I like a lobster. Let's see what time it is. What time is it? We have to go. We're going to get kicked off. And make sure you check out Into the Night with Sean Kelly, my best buddy. We're going to have to bring Sean in and, talk some. Well, maybe I'll have to ask him to come in. So hopefully next week we will be better. Guys, I want to thank you again for tuning into Chasing Prophecy on 105.3 in Henderson Point and 107.7 in, what's that called? Come on, guys. What is it called? I forget. You know what I'm saying? I have brain freeze time. See you next time. We'll be back after Christmas. Okay? See you guys. Have a great night. And thanks again for tuning in to Chasing Prophecy. You make us special and we keep growing, so share it. Okay, shut up. I won't shut down. Oh, God. It won't shut. Can't get this thing to stop.